Hi y'all, welcome back to another episode of Pretty Culture 101. I'm Tanya and welcome to NiaZamar's channel. So this week I want to talk about this concept of hood in beauty, like what we consider hood when we're talking about beauty. And I feel like this might be a little bit more of a vague concept because it doesn't happen. We don't use it as often, I think, nowadays as we may have in the past, but it's definitely still important to talk about and still very prevalent. And some examples of that is when we think about hairstyles, like what hairstyles do we consider to be a hood hairstyle? Sometimes people would be like, oh, well, that woman, that girl has multiple colors in her hair. That's so hood, that's so ghetto, whatever word they use to describe it, which always means the same thing. But in another instance, you might see someone who is usually more times than not, she's just not black. And then that same colorful hairstyle would be considered alternative. It would be considered like rock and roll, be considered cool, considered spunky, whatever other words are used. And I feel like it's really important that we note that when we're talking about beauty, how these things are constantly put up as contrasts against each other. I think another example of that would be nails. Recently, I had an experience where I was typing and someone was like, oh, the reason why you're having a hard time is because of your long nails. And like, I just want y'all to take in the fact that my nails are not that long, but whatever. Anywho, I felt ways about that clearly. Because again, that perspective that a black woman with longer nails who has on, acrylic, whatever, sets of nails, that is inherently a very hood concept. But when we see it with other women who also wear very similar nails, it's the exact same process that they get done, it's not considered hood when they're doing it. Or even things, the idea that when black women are wearing extensions in their hair, wearing weave, whatever you want to call it, that's a really hood thing that they're doing. They're doing it because they have no hair. Where when it's done with other races, with other women, it's not even questioned. It's even the language that's attached to it is so different. And I really want to talk about this idea and this concept of like what we consider as hood and what we don't consider as hood. And part of that is because it's so inherently misogynistic, it's so inherently anti-black to take the same action, the same form of adornment, the same form of beauty rituals, and position it in a way where if it's done by a black woman, that thing is considered to be a hood thing. And why does it matter if it's considered to be a hood thing or not a hood thing? This before, but it's part of the issue is when we're thinking about beauty, it's really important that we're going past our ideas of vanity, thinking, okay, well, it's so harmless. Like, whatever, I called her ghetto, what doesn't matter because it's not harmless because it actually impacts people's everyday life. Not only does it impact them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in terms of it feels like shit when people are judging you constantly for the ways you choose to adorn your body, but also it's an issue because of how it impacts people's opportunities. It impacts people financially. The fact that a person knows that they need to change their attire, their rituals, the way that they adorn their body in order to fit into certain spaces. And there's other folks who can do the exact same things that they're doing and not need to. The fact that the same hairstyle can be put on a runway and seen as high fashion, but when you see it walking down the street, it's called ghetto, is a problem. It's a problem because when we're talking about capitalism and how it feeds into the capitalist society that we live into, it means that, going back into our conversation about appropriation, it means that people are literally able to steal aspects of a person's appearance and then make a profit off of it, where that same person is looked down upon for having that exact same appearance. It's an issue. And as we talked about many times here on this channel, we can't control other people, we can't change other people, but it's like, how do we start to heal from this thing that is actually an issue and a thing that we're constantly dealing with in our daily lives? For me, healing from it has looked like reclamation. Like, how do I reclaim aspects of my identity and keep them sacred for me, So understanding the history of a lot of things, like understanding that the ways that we do our hair, our nails, and a lot of our beauty rituals are rooted in deep histories for people of color, deep histories of our people, our ancestors, and our spirituality. And it means something to us. I understand the history of it, the more I understand how sacred, divine, feminine spirituality is to my own life, the more I'm able to have a sense of clarity and inner peace around everything. The more I have that inner peace, the more I can hear things and have it bounce off of me and not claim it or wear it as my own. And then when I'm reclaiming words like hood, because I call myself hood femme all the time, it doesn't have the same connotation to it. When I talk about being hood femme, it's not a thing where I'm really so much talking about it from the same perspective I think that others talk about it. It's from the understanding that like these are some of the communities that I'm from. This is some of the history that I walk with. These are some of the ways that we adorn ourselves, and these things are beautiful, and it's to acknowledge its history. And I feel like in that reclamation of self and understanding, I think that is what's healing to me, and that is how I'm like, I recognize that people are constantly stealing from us and then judging us for the ways that we dress and the ways that we adorn our bodies. But I'm choosing for myself in my healing process to be like, that's none of my business. Like, I literally, for my own healing, need to not focus on what they're doing so much so as focus on honoring my ancestors, honoring my history, and honoring myself in terms of how I choose to adorn myself. And I don't know that will work for everybody, but I'm curious from you, what are some of the things that you do to heal yourself? What are some of the things that you do to really reclaim your dormant process for yourself in a way that feels good to you? Please comment below. I would love for us to have some dialogue and for us to share and for us to really be able to share space around this and hold space around this so we understand that the things that we do are beautiful and valuable, and to not take on the judgments of others and wear that as our own. I hope that this was helpful. Again, my intention, my hope is always to give some language and name some of the things that we experience. And just like affirm that like this is some real shit that we're constantly going through on an everyday basis. Next week, I want to talk about anti-Blackness because I feel like I can't be talking about appropriation and shadism and this whole idea of like what is hood without actually talking about anti-Blackness, because it is all up and through all of these topics so far, at least. So take a look at some of the other videos and then look out for the video next week. Until then, peace, stay beautiful.